So last year, the date was February 6th, 2019. Of course, I remember the exact date.
Right.
About 2 weeks before that, I was in I was in Park City, Utah, on what was a perfect, amazing weekend of gigs. It was Bert Kreischer, Steve Renazizi, Ari Shafir, Ryan O'Neal, Mark Normand, and I. We were doing a weekend at uh, Wise Guys,
Wow.
which is an amazing club. I'd never been, and the name it's a weird name. I've told the owner that. Who's a great guy, who's a former comedian himself. His name's Keith, so he gets it. He understands exactly how a comedy club needs to be run. It's
Yeah.
one of the best in the country. But he kept the name Wise Guys because you know what I mean. You hear of like Wise Guys in Salt Lake City. Like, is that going to be a good spot? But it's fantastic.
It sounds like a name you make up to like make
Yeah,
it a comedy club.
and it's also not possessive. It's not Wise Guy apostrophe S.
Oh, it's multiple wise guys.
Yeah, it's a plural. It's like Wise Guys. But this place is full of wise guys. You know.
Right.
But it's a fantastic club. I think at like top 10 in the country easily.
Yeah.
Um, and we were there for a weekend, all of us doing Ari's storytelling show. So we're doing like four of those, and it's a pretty big ass room. I think it's like a 400 seater, and they were all sold out. And Ari is a very like in another life, he's that aunt who gets the t-shirts made for the family outings and just like plans the big, like makes the itinerary for all the vacations. That's Ari. You don't realize Ari's like, guys, we're all going to do the show and we're all going to rent an Airbnb in Park City and go snowboarding and skiing during the day. Oh my God. Ah! Like it was like, all right, sure, man. And it was awesome. That's exactly what we did every day. Snowboarding, half of us snowboard, half of us skis every night. Take an Uber, half an hour into Salt Lake City, do the shows, get wrecked. We drove back in an Uber one night and it was like 3 a.m. and Bert Kreischer told the driver to pull over at a Del Taco. And when people started being like, here's what I want, he goes, no, I got this. And when the person's like, welcome to Del Taco, he goes, hey, what's up? I'm just going to give you $100. Just give us $100 worth of food. And the fucking person at the Del Taco employee was like, I mean, and Brett was like, I don't care. Seriously, you choose. But whatever comes out to $100, and I'm even going to throw a tip on it. So just $100 worth of food, please. And I won't say operator, but they were like, sure, pull around.
Yeah.
And they gave us like 5 bags of like just like a grab bag of shit that we lived off of for like another 2 days. It was a lot. $100 worth of Del Taco is.
And you could own a Del Taco.
Yeah, you might. You're right. They should have just when we pulled around, just be like, there you go. It's yours now. You come and eat what you want. But the shows were fantastic, and they're storytelling shows too. And Ari has Shafir has a big storytelling show fan base. So like they're all there. Storytelling shows in the right context are my favorite shows because it's comedy, like especially for Ari's show, because it's comedy fans, but because they're prepared for stories, they're locked in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't have to do crowd work with them. You don't have to like keep their attention. They're fucking ready for a story. They're ready to go on a journey.
Yeah.
And they're amazing. During this weekend, I had to highlight that because it was during one of those days that I got a call from my then agent at the time telling me like, hey, I got this offer. Now I'm just going to tell you up front, it seems like a hell gig, which, that's an interesting thing when the person whose job it is to book your gig says right out of the bat, like I don't know about this. But essentially it was a private birthday party that they wanted a stand-up comedian to come to, do an hour-long set, right? And there would be for me free food, free drinks, and a check for $2,000.
Yeah.
Which, younger comedians listening to this or anything, like that's $2,000 pretty good.
Yeah.
But I've heard like corporate gigs be like, I'll give you 10 grand. That's insane. But for an hour of your time,
Right.
it's like, that's a pretty fucking sweet amount. It'll make you forget. Right. And that, for me, that's 2 months rent, and that's basically, you forget that your agent just said it was a hell gig. So you're like, all right, yeah, great. So she was like, all right, I gave the guy your info. He's going to call you the day before, but it's on the 6th in New York at a restaurant. Now, right out of the gate, I'm saying this. If you're listening to this and you're like, well, I would like to book a comedian for a birthday party, here's a better idea. Take the birthday party to a fucking comedy club.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm saying that just right out of the gates, and it'll all make sense as this goes on. So the dude calls me, the guy, the son. Basically, it's a son whose dad is a very successful businessman in New Jersey, owns a couple of businesses, but has also just graduated from college, went back to school to get his degree so he could be more successful of a businessman.
Okay.
He wasn't already successful enough having I don't really know. I think it was like a carpet cleaning company.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like very successful. He had the son made sure I understood this because it was part of the stuff I could roast him with. And I'm making quotations when I say roast him with, because that's the worst shit in the world. Yeah. When someone starts telling you like, oh, you're going to roast them though. It's like, well, I mean, fuck, you don't understand these roasts that you see on TV. Every comedian has a team of writers.
Yeah, right.
And if they don't have a team of writers, they also have they have a good 2 weeks to a month to prepare roast jokes in front of audiences who know who this person is. I mean, granted, everybody at the party would know, but he's like giving me all this information the day before. Right. And also roast joke writing, I can admit this now. I used to be like, whatever, but I can admit this now. There is a skill to it. I've seen some fucking outstanding Mark Norman, who I mentioned earlier, Mike Lawrence, Nikki Glaser, some of the best joke writers ever. Vanessa Ramos, who, she's mainly a writer, but one of the best. She writes some roast jokes that are like, Jesus Christ. I hope I either am honored one day to have a roast that she writes a joke about me for, and I also hope that I can take it because she's fucking good. Yeah. Anyway, so the guy's also he's telling me all this, and then he's like, look, I'm just going to let you know it's going to be a pretty packed party because it's going to be family, then it's going to be employees, then it's going to be people he met at college over the past 40 years.
Perfect.
Right? So it's this big group. It's going to be a rockin' party. Then, I'm going to shut everybody up. I'm going to make sure everybody knows, the show's going to happen. And then you just do an hour. And then, it'll be fun, man. Nothing you can't handle, right? And I was like, in my head, I'm like, well, I had so many questions. And it was almost like he heard my thoughts. He was like, I know you got questions. Let me just say this, dude. I used to be a booking agent myself. I understand what's necessary to make a comedy show work. You know what I mean? I don't know if your agent told you that, but that's how we met. And then I was like, well, I have to ask one question. Why did you choose me? Because if you watch anything I have ever done, roasting and private party comedy is not my forte.
Okay.
It's you're a comedian, and that's a certain skill set. You have to be real good at crowd work. You have to be real good at I can admit this now too. I'm shitty at crowd work.
Yeah.
I like
crowd control, because those people are there to celebrate something, and now you're interrupting a party with comedy, whether they know it or not.
Exactly.
Stop fun because we have something better for you.
Right. Stop enjoying yourselves and listen to this stranger for an hour. An hour. So I get there. It's this they've also rented out this entire bar restaurant, the entire fucking thing. Now, it was, I asked the guy, why, back to, I was like, why did you choose me? He's like, I didn't. I just asked your agent for any comedians that were available that weekend. And they gave me a list, and he's like, and I watched a bunch of clips, and I liked your stuff. from and also from Ari's show on Comedy Central. He had seen me do a story on that, and he's like, I liked, that story, and my dad liked it. He thought it was funny. So that's why, he's like, my dad loves stories. So, also, after you roast him a little bit, maybe tell some stories. I was like, Jesus Christ. All right. Right. Another side note. Like, I fucking, every comedian fucking hates that. Like, whatever you think you want us to do when you hire us for something, unless you're hiring us to do a set amount of time of comedy and that's it, fuck off. Like, people who come in with like, you got to sing happy birthday. Then, yeah, we're going to have my grandma come up. She's really funny. And we want you to have like a back and forth with her, do a character. If you do a character, see, my grandpa died, but he was like a kind of a doofus, right? But so we want you to play my grandpa, and my grandma's going to talk to you. It'll be a great thing for the family. And then afterwards, if you could roast my grandpa, even though he's already dead. And then also do Richard Pryor's material. They love Richard Pryor. He's obviously not alive. We can't get him. So if you could just do that with the comedy, and and also keep it clean. By the way, you have to be 100% clean. There's going to be kids there,
right?
Because it's my nephew. Yeah, it's my nephew's brisk, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Just so. Again, this is why I'm saying, if you want to have comedy at your private event, have your private event at the comedy club.
Right.
To watch the comedy. And also while there, don't talk and be an asshole. It's stand-up comedy is the one talent no one recognizes as a talent.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? People are like, oh, music, that's a talent. Acting, that's a talent. But everyone thinks they're funny.
Everyone thinks they're funny, and everyone in the audience thinks that, like, I could do that.
Yeah, dude.
I think I could be just as funny as that person on stage.
I swear, dude, there was one time I was part of this panel. Do you remember, did you ever do the Bridgetown Comedy Festival?
I didn't, but it was like pretty legendary.
It was a good one. And there was one year, it's gone now.
Yeah.
Pre-corona it went away, but it also ran its course. It was 10 years and it got crazy big, but it was a fucking great comedy festival. But one of the years I did it, I did this panel because there was these guys that wrote this book about how anyone could be funny. And it's one of my biggest regrets as a comedian that I wasn't a bigger dick, because the whole time on stage, I was just disagreeing with absolutely everything these fucking guys were saying. And I would make jokes about it and I was like the friendly critic. I was being very, very friendly skeptical about it, only because the fest had been such a good time and we had such a great time that day. And I was in such a great mood that I was like, I don't want to spoil it now. But when I look back, the thing that I hated about this book was that the whole idea was that anyone could be funny. And that pisses me off, because it's like, it's not true. It's also like a great way to compare it, I think, is anyone can be athletic, but not everyone is an athlete.
Yes.
Like, right. Like everyone could fucking ride a bike for 8 miles. Anyone could run an hour a day. Anyone could do occasional feats of athleticism. They're like, whoa, you're in shape. But not everyone can fucking win a marathon. Not everyone could play a professional sport for 15 years. Not everyone can be a champion for 50. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be an athlete is a required skill set that you also have to work on and own. And not everyone has that ability, but everyone does have that ability to be athletic from time to time.
Right.
But not to be LeBron James, it's a gift, but also a work ethic that you got to have, both of which. Point being, yeah, to be great. Some people do. And, but anyway, so back to this party. So I get there, they've rented out this it's like a bar up front, big back room restaurant. I walk in, full swing, party's going on, happening. And I was expecting like Jersey people.
Right.
And it was that, but it was that, I guess you'd say like North Jersey people. Because it was money. The moment you walked in, you were like, "Oh, this is like that part of Jersey that no one talks about." Right. That like like these people are neighbors with Eli Manning, Jersey. You know what I mean? Like there's money here, but then also you could tell like, oh, there's the students and there's the employees. Like it was all kind of, but they were mingling together. And the bartender was like this right away. Was like, Sean Patton, And he's like, dude, I used to come to Whiplash all the time. I used to watch you every time, blah, blah, blah. He just rattled off all these comedy shows he had seen me at throughout the years. And he was like, dude, I was so fucking overwhelmingly excited when they told me you were the comedian, but what are you doing here? I was like, what do you mean, what am I doing here? He's like, come on, dude, this is going to be terrible. And I was like, shut up, ha, ha, ha. But in the back of my head, I'm like, fuck, even the major comedy fan, the guy who was excited to know that I was going to be here at the place where he works, is a little skeptical of this. Okay. Then I meet the guy I talked to on the phone, the son.
Yeah.
So basically, he doesn't have a stage and he doesn't have any lights. Now, that's something that is pretty mandatory to make a comedy show go well. You need to have a designated area to perform, all right? Even in like the old school art of getting drunk and telling fucking stories at the bar, you need a part, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a place where you post up and like, all attention here. So he doesn't have that. What he's got is a microphone. And his idea is, all right, we'll just set you up here in the middle of the room. The middle of the room. He points it out. It's just this, basically, if I could describe the room, on the far end is a bar, then there's the entrance, and then it's a square room, and then on either side it's just lined with booths.
Oh God.
Right. So he's like, we'll just set you up in the middle of the floor. We're gonna have everyone, everyone knows it's gonna happen. No, I've told everybody all night. My uncle, then he introduces me to his fucking cunt of an uncle. And this fucking guy, I wish I knew his name. All I know is he used to be an anchor on for some network in Boston, right?
Jesus.
So he has like, he was a slightly older guy, but he had, a couple decades of being a news anchor. And that, of course, he lets me know right away how he's.
Because he really feels like he's still in show business.
Oh yeah. He's like, I have years of presenting and I'm very comfortable speaking. He's like, I'm going to bring you on stage. And I was like, there's no stage. Stop saying that. There's no one's bringing me on stage. Say what you really are going to do. You're going to disrupt the party and make everyone look in this direction. And right as they begin to focus their hatred, you're going to bring me into the spot, into their line of sight. So you can hate me for fucking half an hour. Now,
having a bunch of people pull guns out and then dragging you out in front.
Right. You're gonna get the firing squad's attention. That's what you're gonna fucking do. Yeah. And then the setting up of the microphone commences. And I thought maybe there's gonna be a cordless mic. And obviously, these guys got money. This is a nice place, and it was a nice. I wish I can't quite remember I can tell you where the place is. It's on 24th. Between 6th and the park right there. So it's like Flatiron District. It was a nice establishment. No, they don't have a cordless mic. They've got this like a speaker and like a straight up Radio Shack style. Like, I mean, comedian, like this is pretty much the standard microphone at every comedy club, right? The SM58, right? I got a few. I love doing comedy that much. Wait, hold on. Also podcasts, but it helps. But when you've got like that fucking rinky-dink mic with a switch on it that says the name of the place you bought it, and they had a 6-foot cord. Now, if you know anything about live performance, it's not a long enough cord to like work the room. No. And now it's also got to be attached to a speaker. So now they just bring over like one of those, a tall table, a bar table, put it right by the entrance to the room. And they're like, all right, well, this is kind of going to be your area. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So now I'm in the corner by the entrance. We're on the other side. And then then the son's like, oh yeah, everyone who doesn't want to come to the show, I told them to stay at the bar. So in here, it'll just be people for the show. And I'm like, oh, but there's no door dividing the bar and the room.
Right.
So I'm going to be aware the whole time of the people chatting. No one else is.
Yeah.
And then basically right before we start the thing, he goes, hey, you know what? You don't even have to do the full hour. Just do half hour. It's no big deal. Now, the uncle gets everyone's attention, passes the mic to me. I'm a little like, it fucks with me a little bit because it proceeded to be one of the most horrendous experiences in the sense that there's the table with the dad. right? And then there's family, and there's a couple of, the employees. And then there's this table full of gay men. And here is something I've said before, and I'll stand by it. Unless you are a gay comedian, or unless you are in a controlled comedy environment, large groups of gay men are the absolute worst comedy audiences. And it has zero to do with the fact that they're gay, and it has absolutely everything to do with the fact that they are fucking men. Both fucking has an adjective, men, and fucking each other. Because, like, large groups of gay men have the same fucking mentality as a large group of frat boys.
Yeah.
It's a disruptive group of Y chromosome. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, they could give a fuck about what's going on.
They're going to make it about them.
They're loud. They're doing their fucking thing. It's, so, but they're worse than frat boys, because at least a group of frat boys, you can shit on for being frat boys and tell them to shut the fuck up. Right. Group of gay men, you cannot do that. You are an asshole if you say anything. Right. So right off the fucking bat, this group who are friends of a fellow student of the dad. So it's a table of six gay guys, and how did I know they were gay? Because they were fucking gay. You know what I mean? Like, and they were loud and heckly, and right from the fucking get-go, were not going to give me any space, right? So now, I'm trying to, like, roast the dad, or at least make fun of the dad, while trying to appease this group of loud, and they're being fucking, it's like, boo, bear, and I start making jokes about, I'm just deprecating myself. I'm like, I wish I wish one of you guys would let me suck your dick, kind of thing. And they're like, I'm not into bears, I'll do it, fucking shouting all kinds. One of them kept yelling strawberries, and I was like, he's either wants more strawberries for a mimosa type drink, or that's just a description for a gay guy that I don't know yet, because I'm not gay. Like, a strawberry, is that like you could pluck me from the branch and eat me once and then throw me away because I'm a strawberry? I don't know, but it's relentless, right? So now I'm focused entirely on them, and someone from the audience shouts, "It's not their party." So now I'm like, fuck, you're right, I've got to go back to the dad. Right. And I start trying to talk back to the dad, and I have like maybe one big laugh, maybe. And now they're back at it. So I start making gay jokes again, and about me, not like insulting gay, but me being like, I know, hey, get up here, one of you, I'll kiss all of you right now. I'm like trying to do anything just to, like, all right, one by one, come up here, I'll make out with each and every one of you, right? And they're, of course, not going to do it, but they're at least engaged by this action. And then the dad goes, let's move on from this. Let's move on from this subject. So now it's like, holy Christ.
Right.
Like, now the dad's sort of pissed off.
And he just like dadded you. Like, he just became the dad of the party. And
it's his party. Now, him saying that kind of shut that table up. So now I have the time to focus on him. But because I've spent probably by this, it felt like 2.5 years, but it was probably only about 7 or 8 minutes dealing with them. The rest of the party, who I've had zero interaction with, has now been lost.
Right.
Now they're fucking chatting it up, and this is the employee side. So it's a bunch of fucking guys who lift machinery for a living, who it's like, well, fuck. And now they're being kind of fucking rowdy and talkative. And then they're doing things, and this is why private comedy parties where the comedian doesn't know everybody personally are a fucking nightmare, because now they're yelling shit that I have no clue what it means. You see what I'm saying? Right. So they're yelling shit like, Stanford Tech, huh? And then everyone fucking, all the employees and people know what that means, die laughing. And it's like, yeah, man, this is like Connecticut. This is like Connecticut 06. And I'm like, I don't know what any of this fucking shit is, because I didn't Google the guy and read, because what the fuck? And then, hey, and one of the guys goes like, don't pay Bobby. I think the guy's name was, the guy, the dad's name was Bobby. He's like, hire this guy, but don't put him in sales. And that I kind of got. But, it's just all this fucking Chesterfield. And they're dying laughing. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then I look at the son. And I'm like, well, hey, and I go to say something to him, and he's right away like, don't rope me into this, man. You're bombing on your own. And now I'm like, holy Christ. Now the entire place is just pocketed off and watching me dissolve. And then I saw it happen. The son looks over at the uncle, and the uncle comes up and takes the mic away from me, right? Just takes it away from me. And then goes, all right, enough of that. Anyway, so I guess that was the comedian, but hey, let's everyone, and he starts doing a toast to the dad, right? I know, fucking brutal. So I immediately go into the bathroom, and like every fancy spot in New York, they don't say men and they don't say women. It just says WC, water closet, wash your cunt. Wipe your cock, whatever you want to say. And it's single bathrooms. And I think I was in there for like 15 minutes, seriously, just like talking myself off a fucking ledge, where I was just like, I can't. That was holy Christ. And then I'm like plotting, how am I going to get out of here? Because I know when I get out, the showroom's to the right, or the room where the show is to the left. The bar's going to be right ahead of me. And then I got to make a left, and my coat was at coat check. And I'm just gonna get the fuck out. And then I was like, yeah, I just gotta rush out. That's all I gotta do. Okay. So I like open the door and just immediately start to beeline out, and right away run into the son, right away. Who I'm just like, fuck. And my intention was to be like, bye. And he goes, hey, come with me. And I'm like, no, fuck. And he pulls me into a corner to write me the check, right? And I go, hey, and he just gives it to me, doesn't say a word. Goes back in the other room. I pocket the check, and as I'm walking out, the dad is waiting for me at the end of the bar. I can see it by how he's positioned himself. I guess he walked down there after he's waiting for me at the end of the bar. And I'm, whatever. One thing I'm fucking great at is admitting when I fucked up. So I just walk over to him, and I'm like, hey man, I'm really sorry for ruining your birthday party. And I'm ready for him to just fucking unload on me or just tell me to fuck off. I didn't care at that point. And he's like, he tells the bartender, he does that. He orders 2 shots, brings over 2 shots. It was a whiskey drink. I didn't ask what it was. It was really good. And he's like, cheers. We do a shot. And he goes, I just want you to know that wasn't your fault. He's like, I was against there being a comedian to begin with. I don't think anybody could have fucking pulled that off, man. So it wasn't your fault. I'm not mad at you. And as I'm having this one moment of like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A real dad moment.
Yeah. A moment of like, all right. This guy gets it. And that's who it's his birthday.
Right.
That's what I truly felt the worst about was for 20 minutes. I was on stage. I only know this because later I would run into that bartender who I told you about, who was excited way later at a show, like 6 months later. Yeah. And we talked about it. And he was like, by the way, in case you ever wanted to know, you were on stage for exactly 20 minutes and 31 seconds. And I was like, wait. He's like, yeah, I timed. He's like, he's like, I told you it was going to be shit. I was curious. I was like, there's no way you're going to last 5 minutes. The fact that you did 20 minutes and 31 seconds was impressive. He's like, yeah, I timed you right from the get-go. I was like, that's funny. But anyway, as I'm having this moment with the dad, the fucking uncle, that fucking cunt, comes reeling in. He's like, listen, I don't know, you call yourself a professional. I don't know what circuit you run in, but I mean, you should be recalibrating your life decisions because that was god awful. And right away the dad's like, hey. And as they're doing that, I'm just out. I'm just like, I walk out, I get my coat, and I fucking walk out into the street. And I had 3 more sets that night. And the first one I don't even remember. This was when the stand had not 2000 early 19, because I get these two. No, yeah, the stand had not fully reopened yet. Okay. So it was like a stand satellite show at the Ace Hotel, which felt like I was on autopilot. I think I just went down there and took the mic. I was like, a comedy, ha. Then Sam, fuck, I can't remember. Sam Roberts. Sam Roberts had a show that I went and did where when I walked in, he's like, "Are you okay? You look like you just got sexually assaulted." And I was like, "Yeah." And I told him, and I did my set, and it was fine. And then I had my last set of the night at the Cellar, and the host, Will Sylvince, like I was shell shocked and from the whole thing, and he was like, "What's the matter? What the fuck is the matter with you?" And I still had like 2 people till I was on, so I just kind of like told him the whole thing, and he was like, "Well, fuck it, man." This is the kind of guy Will is. He's like, "It's redemption time. It's redemption time." Now, know this: if you ever work with Will Sylvince, he is hands down, in my opinion, indisputably the best host in comedy. He's just great at it. But also, do not tell him anything you don't want him to say on stage, because that's what he did.
Oh no!
He's like, "Your next comedian, you seen him on?" He gave me a couple credits. He's like, he just claims he's just had the worst set of his life, and he looks like it too. So welcome to the stage. and he brings me up to that, which was just funny in its own right.
Right.
And but it like I went up with an immediate like, yeah, terrible. And I didn't tell the story, but I just didn't give a fuck so hard that like the first joke just killed. And then I had like it was a great fucking set. But I was but I had that moment afterwards where I was like, all right, redemption. But then after a couple of drinks, I was immediately back in the doldrums where I was like, I can't fucking believe that happened. And then my girlfriend came and met up with me, and I told her the whole story. And just in the retelling of it, I got like 5 times more depressed again and twice as drunk, to the point where when we got home, I was like, I cannot deposit this check. I cannot do it. I cannot take these fucking people's money. I didn't do the job they hired me to do. I fucked it all up. I can't do it. I can't do it. And she was like, your deposit, give me that fucking check. You're out of your goddamn mind. Take the money. It was all their doing. They put you blah, 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 back and forth. And I took it out to hand it to her. And then like trying to be a badass, just slowly brought it back. Cause I was going to tear it. I was going to tear it up right in front of her. And she tackled me. She straight up just like, my girlfriend played rugby, she went to Kenyon College. She played rugby in college too. So she's got that build of just like, she can look at you for a second, then just quickly jump. So she pounced and just like, bam, like slammed me into a wall basically, and just took it from me. It was like, you're depositing this tomorrow, but I'm holding on to it till you fucking get your head out of your ass. And I was like, all right, sorry. And then like the next morning, it was like, yeah, you're right. And I deposited the check. But
yeah,
I was so broken up that I was seriously not going to, I was like, I can't take the money. And of course, everyone I told that to was like, I would have beat the shit out of you if you would not have taken that money.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's almost like take their money for them putting you through that.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I wrote like 8 different times. I sat down and wrote an email to the Sun, who's the only person whose information I had, because I wanted to just be like, look, I know you're completely disappointed, but here's how you fucked up. Like, here's how you fucked up. You need to know this. But I never said. I just would write it out and then be like, nah, it's just too angry. And I eventually just forgot. I might still send him an email one day, but like that shit was pure like. Because it was one of those situations, and if you've been doing comedy long enough, you probably had one of these. And if you haven't, I hate to be the one to tell you, but it's coming. Yeah. Where nothing you normally do works.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know.
And while that's happening, you're like trying to go through all of the plays in your head. You're like, okay, they're not liking this. This usually works, and then you move to that move, and that doesn't. You're like, then you realize I'm out of tricks. Like, yeah. I have nothing else. I have no more steps to give them. And it's just me, and they don't like me.
Dude, it was fucking brutal. It was like, it's so brutal that I remember this past year, 2020, on February 6th, 2020, I was doing a show at the Improv in LA, or in California, in Indio Springs, California. And I remember being like, this is the 1-year anniversary. And like, I had 2 sets that night, like I was doing back-to-back shows, and each set I took so much more, like, because they were both going well, and
Right.
it was just, and it was one of those times where, like, if you've probably had this as a comedian, if you've been doing it long enough, and if you haven't, it pleases me to tell you that this also happens as well, where it was just like I was so in the moment
Yeah.
that it almost felt like a full 360 from a year earlier, where like every joke worked, every riff worked, one of the shows had a rowdy audience member that I shut down way too quickly. Like it was like, that was easier than I thought. Everyone was really nice. The headliner, I mean, the feature and the host were both super funny, and it was just like they were good shows. And it was like, okay, this is one of these nights where everything goes right.
Right.
And it because it's at an actual comedy club.
Right. It's on the back room of like a bar restaurant
Yeah,
with construction workers or whatever, you know.
dude.
God,
Yeah.
that is horrible. Before we get out of here, I just want to ask you, so like after that bad gig, right? I mean, it really, like you said, you're trying to talk yourself off the bridge, you know?
Yeah.
And there are some of those gigs that you almost feel like I'll never come back from. Like, what is the thing that you think brings you back? Like, is it, or your sort of coping mechanism? Is it talking to other comics? Is it, you know,
Always.
eating
All
shitty? What, you
dude,
know?
always talking to other comics, always.
Yeah,
Always, because everyone's got some similar experience. And if they don't, they can at least sympathize, or
yeah,
empathize. Like sympathize or empathize. I can't fucking tell which one it is right now. Both. They can
yeah,
sympathize and empathize.
right.
But like always talk to other comics about that shit. I'll say that across the board, man. Like comedy's fucked up and hard and it's ever changing, and it changes faster now than it ever has. And like especially through this pandemic, I don't think it's gone at all. I
Yeah,
think but I do think there's gonna be differences to it when we come back. Obviously, change is permanent, but that doesn't mean it doesn't. I think once something's changed, like the idea of like going back to normal, there's no such thing as that anymore. It's got to be what the next phase is.
right.
And I think comedy will be up and running again, and it'll exist, and it'll be comedy. It'll thrive. It's going to be different though, and like we all go through shit. We all go through like times of despair and questioning ourselves and feeling like this is all a hoax and why not Corona, but the choice to do comedy. Like everyone goes through those times, man, those bad, dark times.
Yeah,
But very few of us ever project it or let anyone else know it's happening. And a lot of us will lie and say it doesn't happen. And
right.
that's just part of the facade. But like, talk to other comics.
Yeah,
It makes you feel better. It really fucking does. And oftentimes you'll find something funny in just the conversation.
right.
And also I find like experiences like that, you don't ever truly 100% get over. And that's the best part, is that like that experience is always going to be lurking in the back of my head. But
Yeah,
because of that, I will be way more able to handle the next experience that's in that same ballpark, because the shit like that will happen again. Will I ever take a private gig for, like, who knows? It might, because sometimes it doesn't happen in the shitty. Sometimes it can happen. I mean, I'm saying go to a comedy club. I've had horrendous nights at comedy clubs too.
right.
You just never know. But the one thing you got to know is it's going to happen. Bombing and having shit shows is just part of the process. And every time you go through one, you become that much, you have another memory just lurking in the back of your head, but you start to use these memories as advisors, where it's like, okay, I'm clearly kind of in that situation again. And then you start reflecting on like, well, what went wrong that time? I over acknowledged that one table and tried to shut them up. What I should have been doing was engaging with the rest of the audience, ignoring the one table, and it would have got to the point where the rest of the audience would have shut the one table up for me because they would have been into the show.
Right.
So you realize to do that in the same situation, and it works, and then when you get to another great show where it's like, oh, this is great, you appreciate it so much more, which
Yeah.
makes you enjoy it so much more, which makes the audience enjoy it so much more. So it's like an ecosystem that feeds itself, but just every now, well, all ecosystems feed themselves, but You know what I mean? It's just like every now and again, there's a predator in the ecosystem that you got to fucking murder and wear its skin to keep warm. You know what I'm saying?
I do, because it's those experiences that you're like, I can handle this. Like
Yeah.
it almost broke me. It didn't break me, and because of that, I can handle something that I think would be just as bad.
Yeah, certainly.
So,
Certainly.
well, before we wrap up, let me just throw out, please, your social media. Where can people see you, hear you, find you?
Oh yeah. I'm on all the socials at Mr. Sean Patton. I post a lot on Instagram and Venmo. That's the quickest way to get me to respond. To just Venmo me some money. I'll respond right away. But yeah, I'm on, and I got an album called Scuttlebutt, which came out in December of last year that I really fucking love on Helium Records, but it's available everywhere. And I myself have a podcast on the All Things Comedy Network that I co-host called 5 Words. And yeah, just doing it. We're just still doing episodes, just putting out tons of content because that's all we can do right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you again for doing this, Sean. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, bud. Stay safe.
Talk to you later.